No, it's all right. I'm not in prison. I'm at home sitting in my front room by my chimney. I'm not out and about today doing a walk. I thought today I'd have a little break from going out, and I thought I'd show you some stuff that I've been wanting to sort of have a rummage around for some time. Many of you will know that I am an avid filmmaker, and I make my videos and I go around with my little cameras and do the filming that I do. But my background is that I've been operating with all sorts of different cameras and things in the past, and I've just been up on some steps to a shelf in the back room to bring out some very dusty bits and pieces that I just thought I'd share with you today. There's a whole load of stuff that I've got stored away. I think most of it should probably go to the dump. But, you know, people keep their memories in these old things, and this has got so much dust on it. I'm not even sure what's in some of these things. So, first of all, let me just see what there is. Oh yeah, this here is an old, oh gosh, there's dust everywhere, an old Super 8 spool. And I used to have a projector, but I have got rid of my Super 8 projectors. I used to make Super 8 films when I was 15, and I would make these things, and one of the films I made was called Him and His Pipe, and in here, in this old Ilford box, I've got stills from this video, and I just thought, let's see what they like. This was a story of, I suppose at the time, I was a young man, and I was sort of just about going through puberty, and I didn't really have a girlfriend. I wasn't very confident with girls. I knew that I wanted to have a girlfriend, and I felt inadequate, I suppose. And so this film that I made called Him and His Pipe, which was about a young man who smoked a pipe, which was a bit unusual, and he wanted a girl, and he managed to make friends with a girl, and this other bully boy basically took the girl off him. And I think it was a reflection of how I was feeling at the time. And I was making these videos with a group of people from the Horsham Young Players at the time, and it's quite interesting. This was back in the late 1970s, and I managed at this. I was working for a printers, so I was taking these still pictures and then processing them at work at the printers at their stuff. But there's an interesting collection, and I've got so much hair, you know. Here am I, the bald explorer, and yet I've got so much hair now. It's quite interesting. So these are pictures of me as 15. So it's very much a trip down memory lane. I think we'll dispense with those. Some old pictures here, one of me with the pipe from the programme Him and His Pipe. Some more old photos. This is interesting. It's got camera crew films on the side of that. This is a slide, a transparency magazine, and just covered in dust, of course. And inside here are lots and lots of the old slides, 35mm slides. Now, I don't know what's on that, and you probably can't really see it very much. Probably could if I held it up to a picture. My first film that I ever made was on 35mm film, didn't have a cine camera or anything like that, and I'd been influenced by a group of people who'd been making a film at the farm near to where I lived, and I was determined to emulate that. And so we took a whole series of slides. I'll talk about this in another video another time because it's quite an interesting story, but we put it together on this, and this would sit in a project on a film, and you put one slide after another, and tell the story. I can't remember when that was. Must have been in 78, something like that. 1978, which does seem a long time ago. And we'd put an audio track as well. And nobody really saw this. Only my parents and friends would come round, and we'd, put this thing together. We didn't have the internet, couldn't share it, and I wasn't a member of a cine club then. But there was about 40 different individual slides which told this story, which was the beginnings, really, the beginnings of learning how to cut to each thing, and doing it in slide. It was basically storyboarding the whole thing, but on location, which was quite mad, really. That just leaves this one. This is the original colour neg, it says here, of Snug and Cozy Pilot, Cozy Productions. This, very dusty as you can see. It's the colour negative. Metropolitan, yeah. So this is something that you would not ordinarily open. Snug and Cozy was filmed in 1994. We're 2020. The tape is barely on here. I'm going to have a look. It shouldn't get dusty because it's a negative. Very carefully. And there you can smell the thing. Now I'm not actually going to take it out because this is a colour negative, and the colour negative, you don't want any dust or anything, all that's covered in dust, and I'm not going to take it out as such. I can show you what film looks like. I'm sure you've all seen film, but this is the colour negative of, it's on two spools, which is interesting. Head roll and B roll. Oh, okay. I'm going to put that back on. You never know. At some point I may want to have this transferred onto digital format and perhaps redo all the sound effects, which would be possible to do. It'd be a bit of an effort, but you could do it. But that's all the visuals. So yeah, that's interesting. Right, so, but what I can show you in here, this old jiffy bag, is various bits of reels of old film. So these are on spools. These are spools. They look like tape, but as you can see, this is actual film. Now, I have no idea, of course, if there's anything on this. It just looks all dark, that one. And this one's another one. Let's have a look, see if there's anything on it. These are what you would put onto a Steenbeck. So they've got just the tiny little spool here, and you've got the film, which is here, and it would sit on a Steenbeck and you would edit it. Now, little Super 8 editors had the spools up like this, and you would wind, from one to the other, and they would go across like this. But this is different. It would be a flatbed, so it would be on a table 3 times the length of this little table here. And what would happen is you'd have a screen here, and you'd thread it all through, and you would play the film, but it would be lying in flatbed mode. You would take a Chinograph pencil, and every time you wanted to make a cut, you could mark the actual film. It would be called a work print, and you would mark that up until you're ready, and you would splice it and edit it in as you went. And then from the work print you'd make the negative, which was what we just saw in the canister there. And then from the negative you'd make the master print, which would be your final thing, which you would then show or have many copies from. But I don't think this, I'm not sure if this has got anything on, whether there's any leader on it or anything, without unwinding the thing, and I'm loath to do that because it's a pain to get it back. But it's such an amazing medium to work in. Finally, I wanted to show you this. This is a camera. It's called the Canon Scoopix 16, and whilst I didn't use this camera very often, I did use it a couple of times but not very frequently. I actually hired an Arriflex BL, which is a much nicer camera, a more professional camera for some of the 16mm work that I did. I did use this for sort of B-roll stuff, which is the secondary filming stuff, not principal photography. Let's move some of this 16mm film out of it, and here it is. This is the camera. There's lots of other bits and bobs, but let's move all that out of the way so you can see the camera. It's a big old beast, isn't it? I used to use this in some of the corporate entertaining I've done. I think that was the last time I used to pretend that I was filming, and here's a bit of film coming out, so cool, coming out of the thing. The Canon Scoopix, amazing little camera, which it needs a good old clean on the inside because the lens is as dusty as anything. Well, that is my little rummage around in some of the memories that I've had recently of the old days. Let's put this little museum piece back in there. It was battery operated, and I don't think you can get the batteries anymore. I've had wind-up cameras, had an old Bolex that used to wind up, that sort of thing. We've got little filters here that would go over the lens. Actually, it'd be interesting to see how big that lens is and whether those filters could be used for another camera. And all this film can go back in the box. If you've ever done any Super 8 or 16mm filming, do let me know. Tell me how you got on with it. It's fascinating to look back, and you know, when we're in, as we are at the moment, in the lockdown situation, as I film this, you know, there's an excuse to go rummaging around the house and see what needs tidying up and what you want to get shot of. I'm not sure that I actually do want to get shot of these old memories. My 16mm projector is quite huge, and but unfortunately that doesn't work. All this old stuff unfortunately doesn't work, and if only one could get it repaired, if it was worth doing, really. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. I certainly have. Yeah, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, become a patron and all that, and I will no doubt be out and about filming with my smaller modern cameras, which are easier to carry than the old cumbersome ones. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. Right, come on you lot. Let's put you away.